Go ahead and start recording. Welcome, everyone. Today is November the 9th, 2022. This is All Lives Matter call with Dr. Alex Loyd and Dr. David Peck. My name is Johanna Chan, and I'll be assisting them today. Before we hear, though, from them, I want to go ahead and read this disclaimer. This presentation is for education and informational purposes only. And since we're going to be talking about issues of health and well-being, we wanted to make sure that you understand this information is not intended to heal or cure anything. Everything in the presentation are the opinions of Dr. Alex Loyd, Dr. David Peck, myself, Johanna Chan, or you if you choose to share. You should always check with a licensed healthcare provider about any specific health concerns you may have. All right, guys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Johanna. I'm Alex Loyd. In the middle, the good-looking guy is Dr. David Peck. He is a double board certified surgeon from Columbia Pres in New York. Over 20 years a professor there.
How come you always get to talk about me? I need to talk about you more.
They don't want to hear about me.
No, they already know about you.
And all kinds of other stuff. So anyway, last week, David couldn't make it. And what's interesting about that is he had chosen the topic. And so we did another topic. One of the people who were here at the time suggested something they would like to talk about, and that's what we did. So we are ready this week, Dave, for your choice, which is sibling rivalry and sibling competition and all that sibling stuff. And David's battery is low, so he's going to go first. So Dave, give us your 2 cents about this issue.
Great. Thanks a lot, Alex. Yeah. The rivalry, I really want to get, Alex, your thoughts as usual. I'd like to get Alex's thoughts on this. And, we call this picking Dr. Alex's brain sessions. But, I had a situation where I had 2 siblings and, I was the favored child. So I was like, always getting all the attention, everything like that, to the detriment of my siblings. And so, I was the good boy and had to be perfect and all that. And so I didn't matter and, that kind of thing. But, I'd like to know more about like what the effect was on my siblings. Because, I know they didn't feel well. Like, for instance, I played the saxophone. I was, fairly good in the saxophone. And they, I could never play the saxophone around them because it was like, they didn't want to hear it, it's kind of thing. And so, when I had, my kids, I had 2 boys, and the first boy was like, he was like the golden child in a way, because I don't know, he was the first child. And so, we really doted on him, and really gave him everything. Then the second child came and, he was a beautiful child, but it had differences, and didn't get the attention because he was the second child and everything. Well, as we got older and older, as they started getting older and they were playing Little League Baseball, I was coaching, that kind of thing. It was clear, not to me at the time, of course, that I was heavily favoring Wesley, the older child, over Bubba, Brennan, the younger child. And so, and what was happening was, Wesley was getting all the attention, he was doing everything, and I was playing right into it. And then when Brennan, Bubba would do anything, I would be kind of like not paying it. And I didn't realize what was going on. And it took Anna, my dear, deceased wife, to tell me. She just got in my face, just like told me, right? And I was conscious of it. And I started to try to, I was like, okay, I need to do, and it turned out fine. But there was a period when Brennan became very apathetic, about schoolwork and that kind of thing, kind of like, why did I have, kind of thing. And so, and I attributed a lot to that, to the fact that I was favoring one over the other. So anyway, I have a number of issues probably with my own siblings, that basically I think it was more like, they don't want to hear it. They had spent their whole life, everyone, parents were always like, David. They didn't want to hear any, so I'd like to hear what your take is on what the dynamic would be, because it's not always clear to me, where the issues were, because I'm carrying my own stuff and that kind of thing. So that's mine.
Well, mine was kind of the opposite, Dave. I was dyslexic. I was ADHD, but that was before they knew what those things were. So both of my brothers were better looking than me. They were slim and trim. They were popular with the girls. They made, well, at least my older brother made better grades than me. Well, no, they both did. My older brother made a lot better grades. The oldest brother didn't do very well, but he did better than me. And but the thing, but my thing was more my parent, and I mean, my parents loved me. They were good parents. I knew that at the time. I know it today, but they were sort of, Dave, the why can't you be more like?
Yeah.
And then one of my brothers. So I was more like your siblings than you. I was, you know, in my family, the one that was like you, who made great grades and did everything right, was my older brother, Roger, who was 6 years older than me. And Dave, I never felt like I could live up to him. And so after a while of trying, and I mean, really trying and not being able to, I just gave up. So that's what it led to for me, Dave, was just kind of apathy and giving up. I've tried and tried and tried, and I can't do it. You know, and because they didn't know about dyslexia very much, or ADHD then, you know, it was just, you know, Alex is dumb. But then when they tested me and found out that I wasn't dumb, I actually was smart, that made it worse, Dave, because then they started saying, see, before it was more like poor, pitiful Alex. And it was, you know, they were trying to encourage me because they thought I was doing the best I could. I was just dumb. Now they think I'm smart, but I'm lazy and not trying.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And that was way worse. That was way worse. And then and see, I didn't know I was dyslexic. I didn't know what that was then. So I thought,
damned if you do and damned if you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I was dumb all this time. Then they tell me I'm smart, but I'm still making bad grades. If I'm so smart, how come I'm making bad grades? You know?
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until college that I really understood how my mind worked and did well in school. But up until then, I mean, it was a nightmare. And I don't ever remember a fight with my siblings, Dave, but it was all just silent. It was all just, you know, I just can't measure up to them. It wasn't that they were hurting me or saying bad, and they weren't trying to make that happen either, to make me feel bad. That just was natural.
Yeah, you know, I had a question. The sort of the negative effects on us, is it equal in a way, like what my experience, you know, in terms of you and your siblings? I mean, because although it might seem on the outside like the favored child is getting all this benefit, I didn't really. I mean, I think it was just as damaging, right? To,
yeah,
you know,
and Dave, if
and stressful.
That's a great point. And if you look at the science of birth order, the middle child, which was my older brother, Roger, the one who did everything right that I couldn't measure up to. Well, the middle child in the science of birth order is called the lost child. And lost means the firstborn gets all this attention, the baby gets attention, the middle one is just sort of left to their own stuff. So I know to my older brother, Roger, who was the one who did everything right, that was his deal, is why is everybody else getting all the attention if I'm the one doing what you tell me to do and they're not? You know, so to Roger, it seemed unfair, but to me, it seemed unfair too, because I couldn't live up to him. So I think it was both of us. I think it got both of us.
Right. It's interesting. Actually, my mother and her sister had a similar experience with my grandmother, where she just favored my mother so much. And we heard stories about this, I just adding on, but we heard stories about how they would, because this is in Korea back during the Japanese occupation, they used to lock my aunt in the closet. You know, when she was, you know, naughty or whatever.
Oh,
and
wow.
You know, to the day that they, you know, my mom is still actually alive in Chicago, but my aunt died, you know, but for although they got along, there was always a tension between them. Somehow they were comparing their children or their houses, or somehow they were always in competition. Is that sort of to be expected as we get older?
I think it is. Yeah, but typically when you get older, you either become way farther apart or you get closer. It doesn't stay the same. So like some people, if they have sibling rivalry, once they get on their own as an adult, they're just, I'm done with them. I don't need that. It hurts. But then some are like, that was sort of silly. I mean, we were both just kids and whatever, but they're my brother or they're my sister. I'm going to make up and have a relationship with them. So you typically go one way or the other.
Yeah. So yeah, like for instance, my brother, moved to San Francisco. But the thing is, and sort of got away and he kind of escaped. He was the middle child. The thing is, though, when you get together for those family reunions and the holidays and stuff, we're still getting triggered in the same way. There's still that tension, and we have to avoid talking about certain things or whatever. I'm annoying them constantly, and but so we just need to heal that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would say is the Bible says you will be forgiven as you forgive. The degree to which you forgive others is the degree to which you will be forgiven. So I would say, remember that and say, okay, all this stuff from childhood and sibling rivalry and all that, I need to forgive or it's going to eat me up inside. And then secondly, take the positives. Go back and don't just go back and mine for the negative. Also go back and say, all right, we had some good times.
Yeah.
What were the good times we had? And magnify those and kind of put them up on a shelf like a trophy or something. And then the negative ones, use the codes and stuff to heal those so that there's no charge left on them. So you ready to do that, Dave? Do you want to start? You want me to go?
You can go, Alex. I'll follow you.
Okay.
I'm in a compromised position here.
Yeah,
so,
and your battery's low, and your battery's low too.
15% now. Oh my God.
Okay.
Oops.
Yeah. All right. So I would rate the issue, some sibling issue you have, and even if your sibling, even if you don't feel like you have any negative sibling issues, go ahead and do this for the good to get even better, to grow closer and more intimate, because your blood, most of us are, unless you're adopted or something, your blood, and no one who's not blood will ever be blood, and no one who is blood will be not blood. So those are very valuable, special people in your life if you treat it that way, and you need to. So I hope you've rated it. A prayer from your heart. You can pray while you do the code. That's what I do. And let's start with the healing code. Both hands bridge. Both hands bridge. Slow, deep breaths from your stomach. Don't try to make anything. Don't try to make anything happen. If anything, just back away and allow it to happen. You don't have to do anything. Your body, mind, and spirit know what to do.
Yes, and we're healing sibling rivalry and all the emotions and limiting beliefs and all those things
Comparison.
that come from
Comparison's a
comparison.
big one.
Yes.
Both hands, jaws. Both hands, jaws. Left hand bridge, right hand temple. Left hand Adam's apple, right hand bridge. All right, and then let's go to trilogy and acupuncture points, temples, collarbones, side of the hand, under the nose, middle finger, eyebrows, little finger, middle of the chest, index finger, sore spot, under the arms, under the eyes, thumb, chin, under the nipples, 9G. Eyes open, closed, open, down to the left, down to the right, circle your eyes, circle back the other way. 1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right. Let's activate governing and conception vessel 3 times, please. 3 times. If it hurts, you're pressing too hard. All right, custom healing centers. Let's start with forehead. Please open and harmonize. Throat. Please open and harmonize. If it hurts, you're massaging too hard. Base or root on the pubic bone. Please open and harmonize. Crown. Please open and harmonize. Heart. Please open and harmonize. Under the belly button. Please open and harmonize. Middle of the stomach. Please open and harmonize. All right, now let's move to both hands forehead or prefrontal cortex. You can do any of these sections longer if you'd like. All of them have been tested individually over the years. Some of them long ago, going back to 1500 BC. So they all work individually, but together they're magnified. Both hands over the heart. Slow, deep breaths, one after the other. Let the code process. I would do this for a minute or two whenever you feel ready to stop. Kind of a peace place. And I would take a look at your 0 to 10 and note any change. And I would also take a look at that about 30 minutes from now. It should be better in 30 minutes than it is now. And then whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. And Johanna, if we have any questions or comments, David will answer them.
Oh, shoot.
*9 on your phone is going to raise your hand if you're on the phone, and if you have if you have a question and you're online on the web, you can just type it in there. So this is a question from Annie, I think. Hi, doctors. I have a question for you both. Dr. David, have you ever used codes instead of medication or surgery? And Dr. Alex, what are your thoughts on manifestation? I never found it to work that well.
Yeah, go ahead, David. Tell him
Yeah,
about the guy that
I
comes in with a gunshot and you do codes instead of remove the bullet or something.
no, believe it or not, though, I've had situations, not infrequently. I mean, the overlap between the clinical practice, my medical clinical practice, the healing codes was maybe 4 or 5 years kind of thing, but had several encounters where, as a result of being in a hospital, a person, there's a lot of anxiety and that kind of thing, that I was able to use codes to calm the person down, and also use them to address. It was more of a psychiatric type of issue, related to that kind of thing, where you speak to the person, and they if they're willing to share their whatever the the major issues are, then work with them. I've done that a couple of times, but haven't really just tried to, like, instead of suturing a wound or something, I don't think that was going to be working. But that being said, though,
if you had done that, you might be broadcasting from a different location today.
Oh, I see, right. Well,
like,
there's always the
through
future.
bars or something.
Oh, I see. But what I wanted to say is that, even though a lot of times it seems like traumas and things like that aren't related to something that the healing codes could address, in other words, I do believe actually that the traumas, penetrating traumas, like physical traumas, as I'm talking, from surgical standpoint, is very much related to triggers, emotional triggers, and what we're talking about in terms of stress. Like, when you think about, when does an accident happen? When do I cut myself with a knife? When do I, drive and have a car? It's when you're rushing or you're doing something that almost, I say almost always. That's why it seems like a bit of a stretch, but I don't really think it is. When you feel that these emotional, issues, the heart issues, I think the trauma level is going to go down too with the number of accidents.
Yeah.
Sorry to be so long-winded.
No, I agree.
4%, only 4%. Oh.
And the other half of the question is, what are your thoughts on manifestation? I never found it to work that well. Yeah, I think a lot, and that's by McEnroe. That's not John, is it? Probably not. But yeah, what I found about manifestation is the internal does manifest externally, but so much of what you hear these days is, manifest that mansion house that you want, manifest that new Porsche that you want, car, manifest, $1 million or whatever. And I have never found that to work either. And I believe the reason is that the internal does manifest externally, but it's more like either love, joy, peace that's manifesting outside, or like anger and lying and deception and stuff like that manifest externally. But for us to say, okay, I'm going to consciously, with 1% of my mind, your unconscious is 99%. Okay. So with 1% of my mind, I'm going to consciously, arbitrarily say, okay, I want to manifest a new Porsche car. All right. Well, I think you're missing the whole point. Okay. Because God decides, your heart decides, but for us to just consciously, with 1%, say, I want to manifest something like a house or a car or money or whatever, I think most of the time we consciously don't know where something's coming from. And so that I've not found that to work well too. What I have found to work really well is working to rid myself of fear and anger and things like that, and fill myself with things like love, joy, and peace, and have the love, joy, peace manifest. And I believe that does happen and happens beautifully. Dave, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I just want to add that in the category of patience, that either patience or frustration, that Alex's teaching is that we have stress goals and success goals. And that is things that you want to do or you want to pursue, whatever, that create stress versus things that you want that are more of like a growth pattern and that are love based. And so what the point I'm trying to make is that if you're trying to manifest something that is a stress goal,
Yeah,
but even if you get that, whatever you manifest, it's not going to create the happiness that you really are desiring internally.
it's really working
Yeah.
against you, Dave. You're working against yourself.
Right.
When
So
you
the
say-
manifest my question to the person would be, what do you want to manifest? What is your goal? What
Right.
Yeah, and if it's a stress goal, I mean, good luck.
Yeah.
You're going to be frustrated one way or another.
Yeah,
But if
and
you're doing something that I love, man, you could do anything and it'll be fine, right? If you do it out of love, out of agape, true love, no, I don't care what it is, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, that's right. And Dave, I believe a selfish goal is a stress goal. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's selfish in terms of like your own personal avarice.
Yeah,
Like-
like I want to manifest lots of money so I can sit around and watch TV all the time and not have to work.
Yeah. Versus, I really want to help these people and I want to set up this healing code program and such, and I'm going to, do or whatever, whatever it is,
Right, that's right.
your ultimate goal is something that, I mean, if it's I would say, personally, would be something that would at the end help people,
Right.
in one way or another, or create a better landscape for everybody.
Right.
If it was just for me, then the end goal, what you'd see down the road, if I was successful with what I was doing, what you would see is a worse situation, basically.
Right.
But what we want is a better situation, obviously.
Yeah. So kind of to put a bow on that, my 2 cents is that a lot of this manifestation stuff, they're tricking you into doing something that really works against your own health and happiness. I mean, I believe in manifestation, but the way that it's taught today, 9 times out of 10, it's a fraud. It's tricking you into something that is going to take away your health and happiness rather than what you think, which is when I get that car, that'll make me happy. No, it won't. It might for a week, but not long term.
Alex, how can we tell the difference between the fraud and you, which is not a fraud?
Whether it's love-based or fear-based, kind of the stress thing you just said.
So the results that we get, no, because people might be shopping and like, oh, why should I work with Alex Loyd, as opposed to so-and-so doing these affirmations, they can't discern because they're in need, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I would just say be careful of people promising you whatever you want, you can have it. I totally disagree with that. Now, whatever you need, you can have it. Yes, I believe in that. But it depends on what your wants are.
And also that you're going to have to make a lot of effort in this, and it's going to be hard work.
Right. That's right. Right. Yeah.
As opposed to someone saying, listen, we'll take care of everything. It'll be fine. Just give us the $500 or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah. Right. And Johanna, I've got to go in 1 minute. I see a couple of hands up.
Okay, well, there's a question by Kevin, and this maybe into what you just said. This is, what is your take on purpose? Finding your purpose, living your purpose.
I believe if you do not do a worldview search sometime in your life, and one of the things you're going to find in that worldview search is your purpose, you can't live your best life. It's impossible. Dave, what do you think?
You know, as you become more
And
authentic,
Johanna, I have to go. I'm sorry. I've got a client in 1 minute. I'm sorry.
love you, Alex.
Love
Thank
you,
you so
everybody.
much
Thank
for
you.
everything, you know. And so what I'd say is, as you become more authentic, that is, you're healing all the things that shape you into the person that you're not, right? The social imaging, whatever. As you become more authentic, you'll get closer to your calling, so to speak, right? You should, you know, because all the things that are distracting from your true self and your true path and your true purpose is now you're healing that, so you're clearing that out of the way. Does that
Correct. Yeah,
make
that's
sense? Yeah.
yes, that's what I believe. And really ultimately I believe that every one of us is programmed to live in love, and that should be our purpose, is to do whatever we can, whatever decisions we make, whatever actions we do should be in love and truth. And if we, you know, it's like the greatest principle, you know. I believe every one of us is wired to do that. And then of course a lot depends on our programming growing up and everything, whether or not we believe that or even we understand that. But I think it's in our heart to live in love and be a person who loves and receives love. That's my take on that.
Nice.
All right. Annie's saying thank you, and she's not related to the tennis player. Okay. I'm gonna mute. I'm going to change gears. We'll still take questions, but I'm going to not record this particular part.
I don't know what's going to happen. I have 1%.